asking the self what is missing is a really great question, because I felt this way. Like, it feels like everything's here and there's just a piece, a puzzle piece, and it's somewhere in this room, but I don't know what it is. And for me, that's always connection with self.
Wow.
Taking inventory of life, how we're living life, how life is making us feel, and what we believe finding this missing thing will create for us, the feeling it will create for us.
Hello and welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding, and life. I'm your host, Tracy Fryer, the founder of Design Studio Perth. And to celebrate the launch of season 2 of the show, Design Studio Perth is offering all our listeners a free brand discovery. So if you find yourself frustrated with your current brand, use the link in the show notes below to book in a time to have a chat. Now, the Real Biz Life Chronicles is on a mission to become one of Australia's leading business podcasts. But in order to do that, we please need your help. If you do enjoy today's episode, and I have no doubt that you will, we please ask that you like and subscribe to our channels below, or simply share this episode with a fellow business owner who's perhaps looking for some inspiration. Our conversation today is going to go where most business shows don't. Into the body, into desire, into shame, and into the kind of truth-telling that makes most people squirm in the best kind of way. We're going to explore what happens when your nervous system says no more and you finally start listening. Because here's the thing, business owners are so often so busy leading, serving, and holding space for everyone else that their own desires, intimacy, and pleasure end up being pushed to the back burner. This isn't about shock value. It's about being real, raw, and liberating. A conversation for leaders who are brave enough to face who they actually are and what drives them, the parts we've been taught to hide. My guest today built her business from rock bottom during a global shutdown, sold everything she owned, packed her life into a suitcase, grabbed her laptop and a podcast mic, and said yes to full reinvention. She's the kind of coach you call when you're ready to stop performing and start feeling again, in your business, your body, and your bank account. She is a nervous system specialist, a feminine embodiment mentor, a truth teller who's spoken publicly about some of those things that people wouldn't even share in private. She's been described as fierce, grounded, and electric. She created her own method, a somatic framework for the nervous system healing and feminine embodiment, and hosts transformational retreats around the world. Through her work in sex, love, and money, she's helped women remember what it means to lead from deep, unapologetic self-trust. But here's what you won't find on her social media profiles. She gives constantly, without expectation, whether it's crowdfunding thousands for a Balinese father who lost his wife to cancer, or quietly pouring time, love, and thoughtful gifts into her clients, her team, her sister, her friends. Her first question is always, how can I help? She's the kind of woman who forgets the good she's done until someone reminds her. But today, we're here to remember. I've seen this lady in action. I believe she speaks her truth. She doesn't let the idea of what someone thinks about her hold her back and get in the way of her mission. She shows up with full truth, deep wisdom, and the kind of courage this world needs more of. A woman who has truly stepped into her power and is helping others do the same. So to our listeners, I invite you to enter this conversation with curiosity. There's real gold here. Let's get into it. Rebecca Antonucci, welcome to the show.
Oh my God, what an introduction. I was like, where did you get some of that information? My heart was like, the crowdfunding, which I thought was a little bit of a secret. I was like,
I have connections.
I love it. I was like, how do you know that?
Firstly, I know you are very, very busy lady, so I really appreciate you making time to jump on the show with us. And I just know that we're going to get so much value from this conversation. And I hope I'm brave enough to ask the questions that I have ready for you today.
I can't wait to dive in. Thank you for having me.
Most welcome. Beck, for our listeners, what can they expect to walk away from after our conversation today?
Oh, they will walk away with permission for them to be their most fully expressed self, permission for them to chase and go after the thing that they believe is truly going to light them up, and a knowing within that that person has all the resources they need right now in their current life to build the life of their dreams.
Awesome. Let's get into it. So you've called your podcast Sex, Love, and Money. Why those three, and what's the deeper connection people miss?
Oh, well, I believe that a big part of my personal journey has been around sex, sexual trauma, and desiring deeper, meaningful sex with my committed partner. And so because of that, I've attracted a really aligned community of women who have gone through very, very similar experiences. And there is so much power in the breakthrough of healing sexual shame to create sexual empowerment. No different to money. I went through a lot of personal debt. I went through working 3.5 jobs whilst I was trying to build a small business, and looking for $1 coins underneath my couch to put $1 of fuel, a Jeep
I've been there before.
Yeah, exactly. We all have, right? And so I think we've all had a desire for great sex and a lot of money, but first we get to heal the shame. And then underneath all of that for me is you could go and get the great sex, you could go and make all the money, but without it being truly loving, fulfilling, and meaningful, it's we all know about rock bottom, but also I've heard this concept of the top. Will Smith actually even spoke about it recently, where you get to the top, you have all the pleasantries that you could ever desire in life. You've got the social media fame, you've got the money, you've got the partner, you've got the sex, but it's empty. And I feel like that's when we're not connected to our love for ourselves and our love for life. And so that's a deeper meaning. Go and get all the external things that you desire, but do it from an internal place of love and worthiness. And then you will feel like you have truly arrived in a life that you really want to live.
I know my next question is probably quite multifaceted, but where does one start that journey? So say someone is at that peak in their life, but they still feel empty. Where does one start?
Yeah, I mean, asking the self what is missing is a really great question, because I felt this way. Like, it feels like everything's here and there's just a puzzle piece, and it's somewhere in this room, but I don't know what it is. And for me, that's always connection with self. And so just taking inventory of life, how we're living life, how life is making us feel, and what we believe finding this missing thing will create for us, the feeling it will create for us, and then doing the work to create the feeling first, because we're only ever playing one of two games in life, the outside in or the inside out. And the outside in says, if I talk really well on this podcast and Tracy loves it, then Tracy will like me, and all of Tracy's audience and listeners will like me. And that means Rebecca is amazing. Great. The inside out is, I believe that I'm amazing. I'm going to do my absolute best to speak from my heart and deliver so much value to this community of people and to Tracy. But if they like it and love it, great. If they don't like it and love it, I'm still going to be okay, because I love me. From the inside out, we can achieve the same thing, but from a different come from. And so often people are chasing the externalized thing, the car, the money, the fame, the sex, the success, the partner, but they're doing it from a place of emptiness, thinking that that thing is going to fulfill them. So if we focus on feeling first and embodying the feeling and creating from that space, that's where I would start.
Yeah.
And it's a slow journey. That is not, I want every listener to know that is a slow, like no one does it that way because it's hard. So we try all the other things first, because people think making the money is hard, but it's actually easy. People think losing the weight is hard, but it's actually easy. But the feeling, going to the feeling first, that is the slow burn and the long road. And it's why we look at every other place we can look at before we look at ourselves.
And do you think that's why, I mean, I'm going to just focus on business owners, but I guess people in general would do this. Is that why they would put their feelings, their desires on the back burner, because it's just that hard yards of trying to work through those feelings?
I mean, I think facing off with ourselves can be very confronting for a lot of people. I feel there's so many places we could go with that conversation. Women by nature are givers and nurturers and overgivers, and we've been trained by society to leave ourselves as last.
Yeah.
So I'll give to you, I'll give to my family, I'll give to my clients. I'll give to even the introduction that you gave to me. How can I help? That's beautiful when it's coming from a very full cup. But once our cup starts to empty and we're still saying to everyone in our life, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? We
Yes.
get left last. And last could just be basic self-care like food, water, and enough sleep and exercise, but then put desires on that. And even though we can thrive as humans, we're built for survival. So if we're living in a fast-paced society where we're giving to everyone else, our nervous system threshold is low, our cup is empty, desires are going to be the last thing that our body from survival is going to be thinking about in that moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of the order of survival. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying if we get ourselves to a place where we're operating from survival, which I would hazard a guess that most people in life actually are. Get up, wake up, alarm goes. A lot of people are scrolling their phone first thing in the morning. We're not putting ourselves in a regulated state where we're open for listening, we're open for learning, we're not reactive, we're responsive to life. So when we're in survival, the whole purpose of this human body is to keep us surviving. So that's just through the day, getting the job done, making the money, making sure the kids are okay, making sure the staff is all right, dealing with the emails. There's no space in survival for desire.
Very, very true. And Beck, for our listeners, perhaps you could briefly let us know how you work with your clients and how you help.
How I work with my clients and how I help. So women, originally my client was a woman 28 to 34 with ineffective self-worth and body image stories. Self-worth could be, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, there's something about me that makes me unworthy in society's eyes. Body image could be disordered eating, bulimia, sexual health shame, and women would come to me for support. They chased all the external things to try and make this piece feel better, and it didn't work. And so we would do the inner work to create safety around that part of themselves, so they felt truly worthy to be themselves in society. We would do the nervous system work to create internal safety for that woman to communicate who she is, to be able to show up on podcasts, to ask for her needs to get met, to set boundaries, to ask her boss for a pay rise, to ask her clients to get paid. I mean, I've had women come to me that are business owners that would have a whole year of overdue invoices because they feel terrified to send an email to ask for a payment.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Gosh.
Because speaking up, if we've been told that asking to get our needs met or setting boundaries or communicating payment terms makes you bad or wrong or a bad person or a money person, or fill it in the negative connotation that someone's associated with that, then they're not going to take the action. Even if logically it's like, no, if you perform a service, you get paid for the service.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Logic doesn't override trauma. So we always go to the trauma versus overriding it with logic. So that was my original client. Now she can still be that woman, and women like that come to me all the time. But now women who come to me are 35 to 44 and they have done everything right that society told us to do. They got the great grades, they got the great job, they went and got the good partner, and they've got to this crisis point where they're just not happy. And they're looking around at life saying, why do I have everything that should make me feel happy, but I feel like something's missing? I don't feel alive. I don't feel turned on. And I'm not talking about sexual intercourse turned on. I'm feeling like being excited to live your life, turned on by your surroundings. She's just feeling like she's going through the motions on autopilot, and she's seen my life and my life expand a lot. She's seen my expression and my expression expand a lot. And she can feel something within her bubbling. She wants to do something different. She wants to quit the job. She wants to walk the untrodden path, but she's really afraid because she's going to have to let go of a lot of externalized safety, let go of the six-figure corporate career, let go of the savings account, let go of the house she built, let go of the partner that she's happy with, if that's her aligned choice. And she's about to step into newness, and she's never been there before. And so she's coming to me because she's got a dream. And she tried to ignore it for a really long time. And now she's at a place where she knows that if she keeps living this life day in and day out for the next 40 years, she knows that that's never going to create her happiness. No. So she wants big, courageous, huge life change. It's really exciting.
Yeah. It's I've been on quite a personal growth journey the last 3 years. And I think if you ignore it, it just keeps tapping on your shoulder until you can't ignore it anymore. And oh man, it's scary as to do the hard yards. But once you do it, it's just so liberating. And I'd love to know where your personal growth journey started.
Oh, where it started. I mean, the seed was planted when I was bullied in high school. My core wound is rejection from the girls in
Mm,
school. And I was running from that core wound. I didn't know it. I didn't know anything about the subconscious mind. I didn't know
no.
anything about wounds. I was just like, something happened to me. It made me feel bad and I want to feel better, which
Yeah.
is, a pretty normal way of thinking. And at 25, I had a really big life event happen. I left a partner that I was really in love with. I was intimate with a man who lied to me about his sexual health. I was on the receiving
Oh,
end of an STI that I didn't know was coming for me. I just felt like it rocked my entire world. I'd had an eating disorder for almost 10 years at this point, and I just felt like the earth underneath me had completely shattered.
mm,
I didn't really know what to do because I felt like I'd tried everything that would
yeah.
help, air quotes, fix me, right? And I found personal development. And I walked into a course at the time. The very first workshop I walked into was Landmark. This was 12 years ago. And it's
Okay.
not a course I would refer now, but it started my journey. It was a catalyst of a different route. And I
Mm,
remember walking into this room and seeing so many people share their true self behind the mask. And I was just so intrigued by it because I was 25, very impressionable still,
mm,
feeling very almost like quite a victim to the things that had happened to me in my life. So
yeah.
I felt innocent and vulnerable. And I thought that these people, these successful, great looking people who had achieved brilliant things, I thought being a successful entrepreneur would be the thing that would make me feel fulfilled and worthy. And they were sharing the truth of their human experience. And I thought, oh my God, I don't want to wait another 20 years to achieve all of this success to still feel the way that
Mm,
they feel. This
yeah.
must be a human thing that we all go through. And everyone seems to be experiencing these emotions. And so
Mm,
that started my journey of, I don't want to stop now. I found a different way. I entered a different world. I heard people speaking about vulnerabilities and their real emotions. There was no more facade, no more mask. And that was the catalyst of 12 years of personal
wow.
development. I could never stop now because it's a way of life.
Completely. I agree with that. It's like just being dedicated to that constant learning.
Yeah, and I feel it's the most rewarding, fruitful journey for all of us, men and women, but my client base is female. We're always meeting new parts of ourselves.
Mm,
The life journey never ends. And so we're constantly learning and evolving and growing and expanding. And it gets to be exciting because we find these, dark parts of ourselves where it's like,
yes.
oh God, these
Very
patterns of mine
dark.
are not so effective. And then we find another part where we're like, whoa, like what a beautiful part of me to meet and find and
Mm,
explore and give permission to and play with. So I find it very rewarding just to become more of who you truly are
yeah.
rather
And
than who the world told you to be.
yes, and that's so powerful what you've just mentioned there. And I think, Beck, I've been following your journey. I think that comes through everything that you do. You just have this fierce confidence, that comes through social media. It's very authentic content. And on the note of SDRs, I know you openly spoke about it. And I just want to say hats off because I think so many people have experienced that. They felt so alone. They've perhaps felt dirty. They've let themselves down. And I think you just brought that conversation to light. What made you feel called to share that?
Oh, do you know what? It was ruining my life. It was something it felt like a siren by the right side of my ear screaming at me all day long. No one
Mm.
will love you. You have herpes. If
Yeah.
Tracy knew, she wouldn't want you on her podcast. She would
Oh,
hate you. No man will choose you. And it was nowhere on my body because I'm such a healthy person, but just that siren wouldn't go. And I wanted to heal it naturally. I wanted to do some kind of dieta in the Amazon. I was just doing everything, working with every healer, light worker, shaman,
yeah.
philanthropist, mentor, guide. I thought that I could heal this naturally. And I realized my breakthrough is actually in the ownership of it and realizing that if no one else in the world appraises, approves, accepts me, if I'm
Mm.
willing to speak it and own it and choose me regardless, then that's actually the breakthrough. And from that moment, that's where the freedom came because
Wow.
I was no longer living trying to curate myself and get people to like and love me. And I was no longer repressing and hiding apart. And shame and guilt are the two lowest vibrational emotions on the planet. And they thrive in secrecy. So as soon as it was brought to the light, it was met with acceptance. It was met with Me Too's. It was, it's just such a normal part of my conversation now, 10 fingers, 10 toes, and the herpes virus. But it was such a powerful gift for me and one of the greatest teachers in my life, because it showed me that voice took so many years of my life away from me. And I was so afraid of things that were not true. And I allowed things that were not true to impact my life so greatly because I believed them to be true. And as soon as I did the work to integrate and heal that and say, well, okay, Tracy might like me, Tracy might not, but I'm going to be okay no matter what. In the ownership of that came all the freedom that I was always searching for in the healing of it.
And I think you mentioned something really powerful there. You said shame and guilt, they thrive in darkness. And then did you say by bringing it to the light, you just felt like you let it go?
I mean, there was still some elements of shame. I don't feel like it immediately healed the shame, but it was, we do have a central nervous system. And so it was very relieving once I did share. And I did it live on a Facebook post, a Facebook Live years ago,
So
when we
brave.
were still used to.
Yeah,
brave.
Yeah.
And I was terrified. Like my hand was shaking. I cried for a whole day prior. But I was with so many people validating me, telling me they were proud of me, women saying me too, people that I respected sharing with me, me too, Beck. And so that obviously, I was proud that I did it, but then I was also met with the social acceptance of you're still safe, because we all have a core human need to belong. And so it makes sense, if we believe that something's going to outcast us from the pack, that we won't want to do the very thing that is going to get us outcast, because we believe that our safety and survival depends on belonging. It's very natural, very normal. So as soon as belonging was affirmed and confirmed, that was very relaxing. And then any layers of shame that still existed, I did the work to excavate those and clear it so it was entirely healed.
Beck, again, so brave. I mean, I can't even get some of my clients to do a social media post about their business. What would your advice be to a business owner who is, the way you show up, again, so brave and so fierce and authentic? What would your advice be to a business owner who is nervous about going online and, perhaps just even sharing the value that their business provides?
Yeah, if we're going to connect it straight to the value of business, I feel that's a beautiful place to go, because it makes it less about us. So if I'm scared to post on social media about my business, that's an about me thing. I don't want you to think that I look bad. I don't want you to think that I sound stupid. I don't want you to think that I'm asking for too much money. I don't want you to think that my post isn't good enough. But if we really believe in our product or service, and I believe as business owners, that's something that we need. You need absolute, you don't have absolute faith and belief and confidence in your product or service. I'd start there first.
Yeah.
But if you have confidence in your product or service, then you actually get to connect the confidence in your product or service to the value that provides for the client. And every time you don't show up online, you're robbing one client, two clients, thousands of clients, this unbelievable gift of the value that your product is going to provide for them. Yeah. And once you're connected to that, it's like, oh, do I want to let my body image issues get in the way of this post? Do I want to let my self-worth get in the way of this post? So connect to the value that your product or service offers a client. And number two, you've got to get reps in. No one was good for day one. I still cringe at my own social media posts, and really? I'm 6 years. Yeah.
Sometimes posts are amazing.
I know, but sometimes I get podcast assets for my podcast team, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to post that. And I'm like,
I'm the same.
Yes. And I'm like, what, Rebecca, do it anyway. No one's judging you. It's you judging. This is a you against you game. You know what value you provide. This is going to connect with the client. Get out of your own way. And confidence is directly equated to competence, but we've got to put the reps in. It's like going to the gym. I love to work out. If someone wanted to run a marathon that had never run before, I'm not going to be like, Tracy and I are going to go run a marathon tomorrow. We can't.
I join you.
I recently ran one. You have?
Yeah, I did Rottnest
Oh,
Run, and then a few weeks before I did the Lake Rumble. But I know what you mean, 100%. It takes
okay, so
training, like it's
Tracy's a bad
hardcore.
example because she's got the reps, but I'm not a runner.
Sorry,
So
Beck.
say myself, so say myself and one of your listeners were like, let's train for a marathon.
Mm,
We would be training every day for that marathon.
completely. It's hard
And in
work.
months, yes. And in months' time, we would feel competent to run the marathon, but we've got to put the
Mm,
training days in. So every time you post, it's like going to the business gym, getting your reps in, and one day you're
totally.
going to and one day you're going to be able to run a marathon, but not day one. But the
Mm-mm.
marathon's never going to happen if you don't get in the gym tomorrow.
No. And I also ask myself, like, what's the worst that can happen? So again, like you, sometimes I see the stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, Trace, one too many yards, whatever. But I'm just like, then I'll get a message or two from someone who said, oh, I really appreciate what you shared. It's really, changed my view. And I'm like, that's why you do it, right? Because I mean, the haters are really minimal at the end of the day. It's all the positive feedback that you actually get from content you think is not even, up to scratch. So it's very, very empowering.
Yes, and when your business grows, you get to grow your impact, you also get to grow your income. And so I would be connecting to the cost of you not posting, like
Mm, mm.
obviously connect to the value of your product or service. B, set yourself a social media challenge, 30 days straight. You've just got to break the cycle and
Yeah,
create a new pattern and get enough momentum to realize that even like messy is better than perfect. Like messy action is better
completely.
than perfect action, and see
Mm.
that action creates result. And then the third piece is, oh, I totally lost it, and it was so great. Oh, the cost. If you get connected to the cost of you not posting and the benefit of, you'll realize the only answer here for you is to show up online.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
the cost of your business, the cost of your clients, the cost of your team, the cost of your family because you make less income, the cost of your health, the cost of your financial health. There's so much at
Mm.
stake here because you won't put that post up. So let's be bigger than
So true.
ourselves and realize that we've got something unbelievable to offer the world and do the thing, even when it's
Mm.
scary.
100%. Beck, most people talk about trauma from the head. You talk about it, from the body. What
Mhm.
shifts when we do?
What shifts? Well, I believe true healing and sustainable
Mm.
healing. I feel that there are a lot of people who will come to me and they understand why they are the way that they are. I'm working
Yes.
with very intelligent women, high
Mm.
performing. They've read the books, The Body Keeps a Score. They've done the NLP. They've done a lot of mindset coaching, got the motivation. I'm going to do this. And they
Yeah.
just keep hitting the same block. But our body is a walking, talking library that has implicit memory that has stored everything that has happened to us,
Wow.
specifically traumas.
Mm.
And so if you got on stage when you were 7 years old at assembly to perform something and you were laughed at and you ran off stage crying and then your dad told you off because you should have stayed on stage and just done it
Mm.
anyway, it would make perfect sense as an adult that you don't want to show up on social media.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Because logic says just post every day for 30 days. But trauma says I was 7, I got on stage, all my peers laughed at me,
Mm.
and then my dad told me off. Me being seen publicly is directly correlated to shame, lack of belonging, being scrutinized, villainized, and embarrassed and humiliated by my peers. And then my primary caregiver telling me off. Of course, you don't want
Yeah.
to post on
Of
media.
course. No. Makes sense.
Now your brain could be like, nah, I'm 38, it's not a big deal. And then you go to post and you don't post. It's
Yeah.
because the trauma lives in the body. So until we do that work,
Mm.
create safety, the action is going to be really hard.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think for so many people, like you said earlier, they don't realize that's what actually is holding them back. You think, oh, I'm 38, 45, 65, whatever. You don't realize all that stuff that happened when you were growing up actually is the thing that's holding you back most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, our developmental years of learning, most important ones are from 0 to 7, where so
Yes.
many of our imprints, so many of our beliefs, so many of our beliefs about money and worthiness and relationships were created then. So if something isn't working in your life and you've done all the mindset work to fix it, I would say
Mm.
it's something deeper. I'd be looking for a nervous system or somatic practitioner.
Mm. And I mean, I know you work mostly with women, but would you say the same for men as well?
exactly the same. Yeah.
Mm.
I say, and I believe it's so important to find a teacher, a guide, a mentor who you really resonate
Yes.
with. That's why I prefer to work with women. I understand the female
Mm.
body. I've lived in one for 37 years, and there's just a
Yeah.
very deep resonance. I have had many male clients, but I prefer to refer them out now, but exact same guidance for them too.
Yeah. And Beck, so sex, love, money, which one challenged you the most in your own healing and why?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would say all of them are very even in terms of challenge. They've all been a challenge for me. Sex, I think I found it really challenging, and a lot of women will share this with me, to have the same level of expression in the face of deep intimacy as what I
Mm.
had with someone when there wasn't true vulnerability and an open-hearted experience. So
Yeah.
learning how to truly be able to express when the stakes were high, like my heart being on the line, that's been
Mm.
very, very courageous journey for me. Love, I would say opening my heart back up to love and men after such deep, painful heartbreak. You know,
Mm.
my first partner punched me in the head, knocked me unconscious when I was 19.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I know. And so that created a lot of pain for me, and a lot of
Of
pain, a lot of
course.
a lot of unworthiness. And then to leave someone that I really loved and be on the receiving end of an STI, I felt like
Mm.
my physical body was at the mercy of men. And that I know this
Mm.
sounds very much a victim statement, but what was true for me was that, I don't know how that still rings. What was really true for me was
Okay.
that even when it's on Do Not Disturb, what was really true for me is it felt like men had hurt and harmed me
Yeah,
physically and
makes sense.
emotionally. And so I was very angry for a long time. So to open
Mm.
my heart back up to loving men, that was a big journey. And money, you know, I've always said more money does not mean less money stories, but
Mm.
my little girl was told by her father growing up, there's not enough money. We don't have enough money for that. So I always, my little girl really believed that money was just going to be the solution to all problems and make sure that
Mm.
everyone's okay. And my mum and my dad and my sister okay. And so as my business really took off, and creating those high income months, and really just still feeling the same scarcity of the little girl, feeling like it's not enough to make sure everyone's okay, really healing that part. And I'm still in it right now, doing the deepest healing on my money story of my
Yeah.
lifetime. I always said more money doesn't equal less money stories, but to earn the money that you thought would actually heal the money story and be like, nope, that's not it. They're all equally as challenging in very different ways.
Mm. Beck, even knowing more about your story, again, utmost respect. I look at your socials, and I'm so grateful for this conversation because my listeners and myself have got to know you on a whole nother level, and even more respect for how much you share and how much you show up, having gone through that journey. I'd love to know, after the heartbreak you experienced, I mean, I know again, this is probably not just an instant answer. How did you trust again? Because after, physical abuse, the trauma of that, how did you open your heart up again? Was it a slow journey or?
Really slow. I mean, after that partner when I was 25, I was single for 7 years. So very avoidant. I was like,
Mm.
love has hurt me. Men have hurt me. I'm not going anywhere near them. And when we put such high boundaries, brick wall, electric fence boundaries up
A
to
dome.
protect from being part of me,
I said,
when
or
we,
a dome, like in
or
The
a dome,
Simpsons.
yeah. Yeah, or a dome like the Simpsons. When we do that, yes, it will protect us from getting hurt, but then also the thing that you want the most, which is love,
Mm.
that can't come in either. And so I really believe that we're all desiring a richer, more fulfilling, meaningful life. And how are you going to create that without opening your heart to life? So
Mm.
after I feel that the individual that's resonating with this, you're going to go through a journey where life feels lackluster because the heart isn't accessible. You're not going to share your heart with others, which means others are
Mm.
not going to share their heart with you because there's going to be a guard between and a protective layer between the two of you. And once life becomes, when the pain becomes so great and greater than the pain of change, that's when you're going to make the
Yeah.
change, right? That's when I
Mm.
decided it was time. And my last partner, he was definitely not the love of my life or anyone that I was ever going to be in love with, but he was a great man and a safe man. And I really
Mm.
wanted to love him, but I just couldn't. My heart wasn't there to love him, even though I wanted to. but he
Yeah.
came into my world to show me that great men that are going to treat me right and respect my boundaries and try to do everything right by me, they exist. And he was really such a pivotal teacher and a reminder for me that I deserve to love, and I deserve to love someone for how they feel being loved by me. So that created the desire for it again.
Hmm. And Beck, what you've mentioned there, you said you wanted to love him, but you just realized you couldn't. Was that your words?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you obviously make a call in that relationship to end it then?
Yeah, we were together, almost 3 years. He was very safe after so much pain, if
Yeah.
I'm really transparent. And he was a good guy and a conscious man, and he was always there for me, reliable, consistent. In his early Prince era, like he hadn't built his kingdom, but
Hmm.
has a vision for himself to be a king and step into his king energy, a great leader. And when you're not, when you're with someone but you just know they're not your person, but you just really
Yeah.
wish they could be.
Yeah.
As a woman, we're trying to convince ourselves into loving them and almost doing the checklist of all the things that is good about them. But
Mm.
he was more of a friend than a life partner or a lover. And I tried all the things to convince myself into loving him. I looked at all of my core wounds and all of my inner child healing. We'd done attachment styles. We'd done many things together, but he wasn't it. And I maybe kept the relationship going a year too long, but we did have to end it.
And again, I think, acknowledging the relationship for what it is so brave, because I come across so many people, they sit in a comfort zone when they're not truly happy, and they're just not living the life to the fullest, right? Because they're potentially with someone, but it's not really, there's something missing. But instead of calling it for what it is, and I know it's never easy, right? They stay in that relationship in that half-mast, feels, for one of the better words. Why do you think some people do that? Is it because it's scary to step away, or is it that comfort that humans love, that we just kind of sit in it rather than seeking true fulfillment?
Oh God, again, there could be so many answers to this. Uncertainty as a big blanket answer of, we're so familiar with what we know. And even if what we know doesn't feel good, it's predictable. I know that
Yeah.
I'm with this partner. I know that we have, surface level vanilla sex. I know that I'm going to be disappointed with it. But I also know that he's going to text me every morning, text me every night, call me 4 times throughout the day. I know what our weekends look like. In that, even if it's vanilla, good, subpar, it's predictable. And straight away the nervous system says I'm safe.
Got it.
If that woman's like, okay, I'm going to break up with this guy. Number one, breakups are hard on all people. I think one of the most challenging things to go through. Again, a lot of our limitations come up: jealousy, attachment styles have to separate, grief of losing someone that you once really cared for. So a lot of emotions that some people don't know how to be with. And then stepping into the new of, I've got to heal. I've got to date again. I've got to create a life without this person. I've got to watch that person go and get a new partner and be okay with it at some point. So there's a lot to be with, and that's courageous. And so if we don't have deep self-trust and we haven't done the work to know that we've got ourselves in the face of all of those uncomfortabilities and all of that uncertainty, it makes perfect sense that you would stay in the relationship that doesn't serve you.
And I guess, some couples don't even have sex, right? They're just so in the comfort zone that they just kind of go with it. Get the text, we have breakfast, I go to work, come home, have dinner, go to bed. And it's just this like cycle that they kind of go through. What would your advice be to people who are perhaps in that boat?
I would be sitting down and having a serious conversation with my partner about the values of our relationship, the vision for our relationship, what lights him up in our relationship. What is it that I do that I would make it a two-way conversation? Like he gets to share, I get to share. If having no sex is something that meets both of your values and you're perfectly happy and fulfilled with that, great. But if it's not, I would be talking about that, and I would be talking about why we haven't spoken about that. I met a man over the past week, and he took me out on his boat, and all of his friends are married, and his male friends were saying to him afterwards, you should date Rebecca. She's this, she's that. Our wives don't have sex with us. And he's telling me all of these, in my opinion, horror stories about these couples that have sex twice every 3 months when their
Yes.
wife allows it. And
I've heard the same. I've heard the same.
I'm just like, is that the kind of life that you want to subscribe and sign up
Mm,
to? And then for the women, are we really communicating to our men what a sexual experience is, why it's important to us, how it can be meaningful and fulfilling for us? Because I feel some women have tolerated subpar intimacy. They haven't spoken their true desires. They haven't
true.
spoken their true needs. And so if that is true, it makes sense that if you're feeling used or like this isn't a shared experience and an expression of love, it isn't fulfilling your sex and love cup, makes sense that after a while you're going to pull away. So I feel
Yeah.
like courageous conversations, and not just one. I would be having this as a relationship check-in with my partner at least once a month, if not every 2 weeks. And I would have a set of
Mm.
questions. It's like, babe, we just sit down. I'm going to ask you. I won't talk. You'll speak and answer, and then you swap, and then you just get on the same page.
Yeah. I come across that feedback as well. Like a lot of people just open up to me and, they'll say, friends of theirs, their wives also have sex twice a year. And I'm like, that's like one more time than your birthday. And I'm just like, it's quite unusual, right? Like you said before, if that works for you, fine, fair enough. But I think, relationships are that spiritual, physical side that kind of come together, and that's that wholeness. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, for me, sex is one of the most beautiful expressions of a human that could
Mm,
exist. But in relationship, I have lots of male friends. So
mm,
if I'm not fully intimate with my male partner, what really makes him any different to my male
true.
brothers and best? That's one of my things.
Mm,
And the other part is I just don't believe that there is such thing as a resentful, angry, pleased woman. So when a
mm.
woman is truly pleased and pleasured and poured into, I believe that you walk past that woman on the street and you just know, and her cup is lit up and so full, and she is
Mm,
generous and she is giving and she is loving and she is open because she's so pleased by her
mm,
partner.
mm.
Equally, there are statistics that show that men who have sex 4 times versus 3, I'm not sure if it is 18 times more productive, but
Oh,
it
wow.
actually, yes, there's true. I was even talking about this with that particular man. So in terms of his
Interesting.
productivity, his vision, his getting shit done, his like wanting to do things around the house, his financial
Mm,
providership, that's going to amplify through him being pleasured and pleased. She's going to be a more loving, generous woman through her being pleasured and pleased.
yeah.
So but to relate that back to the soul question, you do have to be in alignment, because it isn't, when you're in partnership, it's not an exchange. You're not a friends
Mm.
with benefits come around on a Saturday
No.
night kind of experience.
Yeah.
Your partnership. This is meant to be a beautiful expression of love. And so if you
Mm.
do want to be a part of your soul expression, your soul alignment, then I believe that that's very true. And I think it's an individual thing as well. Maybe some people don't value sex and intimacy the way that it sounds like we do.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. And Beck, what's one thing you wish women knew about embodied sex that nobody's teaching?
I just don't think enough women have been taught how to speak up for what's
Mm.
really, really important. Like I always thought I really desired to date a very, very successful man because providership's important to me. So
Mm.
recently, men that I have been dating have been incredibly successful, accomplished men. And there have been certain ways that they have spoken to me or interacted with me that just hasn't felt good. And I'm very
Mm.
transparent and honest. So
Yeah,
I'll
same.
share. And I love that about you. And each one of these has said things like, no, no other woman has reflected this. Women love
Oh,
this. And my assessment, and I could be wrong, but my
mm.
assessment is these men are so successful and they've provided so much that women haven't told them the truth. There's almost an exchange of, oh,
Mm.
you've got the great house and the beautiful cars and the boat and
Yeah.
all these things providing for me. So when you don't meet me intimately and emotionally, I don't tell you because you're providing something else. There's almost a
Yeah,
trade-off.
makes sense.
When I've spoken my truth, these men have felt very shocked about how honest I am. And so I
Mm.
really feel that so many women just are not speaking up and advocating for what they truly feel within.
Mm. And again, do you think it's that comfort zone or they're kind of nervous too or?
I mean, I think most people will say, I'm afraid of confrontation. I'm afraid of uncomfortable conversations. And this
Yes.
particular, he was like, I feel really awkward having this conversation. I said, it's
Ah,
totally okay. This is a
yeah.
very successful. I'm like, mate, you've got so many business partners. You could surely handle a
Yeah.
challenging conversation with a woman. But it was
Wow.
really hard for him. And
He
so
was
I
quite taken
think
aback.
very by my level of honesty. And
Sweet.
I think people are not practiced, but the same as showing up on social media, vulnerability, uncomfortable conversations. My business grew from a little multi six-figure cute business that was ran by myself to, all of a sudden having a team and a podcast team and sales team and assistants and logistics managers and all these people. And I was never taught how to be a boss. I've done
Neither.
shit, but I was never taught about pay rises. I was never taught about when your team don't deliver, but you're paying them more. I was never taught about clearing resentment between team members. I just was never taught about how to be a boss. I didn't learn that.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn as I go and expect that because I was never taught, I'm going to drop the ball and I'm going to improve and I'm going to keep trying and I'm going to research and I'm going to study and I will get better. No different to vulnerable conversations in an intimate relationship or communicating your needs or advocating for yourself, expressing something hard. If you weren't taught, it makes sense that you don't know how, but you can
Yeah.
learn and you are not going to be good from the get-go because no one was good at anything on their first try. But if you keep repeating and putting the reps in, you will get there. And eventually hard, courageous conversations will become more easeful.
100%. I think again, you've highlighted just having those honest conversations and not just having them once off. Like actually, I liked how you said kind of not scheduling. That sounds terrible, but having them on a regular basis to kind of check in with each other. As you constantly go and as your relationship grows as well.
Yeah, my team and I have an agreement. 3 days. If we have something that's niggled us between someone, we've got 3 days to bring it up.
Yeah, love that.
So we don't sit on it. In a relationship, I would have the same thing with my partner. I feel it. I can ask myself, is it mine? Should I bring it to him? But if it's still there after 3 days, bring it forward.
That's really good because it kind of creates that space. I'm terrible at this. I'll want to chat about it right then and there. So something I've had to work on is Tracy, just take a breather, just chill out, go have a sauna, then speak about it. Doesn't have to be solved right then and then we move on. So I love that because it kind of creates that space and time for your nervous system, your brain to kind of chill out and then, think with more reason and logic as opposed to emotion and passion and just like guns blazing straight off the bat, which makes it a lot worse. I blame my Greek heritage.
I love that about you too. I feel something. Let's chat about it.
Yeah, we need to sort it out now. And then we'll have lunch or dinner afterwards, because that solves everything. So
I love that. I used to be very avoidant. Even now, when I think of a hard conversation, the first thought that my brain says is avoid it, run in the opposite direction.
Oh,
But
really?
1,000%.
Yeah,
If
interesting.
I'm vulnerable and my heart is at stake, like a hard conversation with a girlfriend, something where it just feels like there's deep intimacy and an important relationship there, like an acquaintance or a business transaction, easy. But anything with heart on the line, my first thought is run in the opposite direction. But I've had to retrain, to lean in rather than lean back.
Yeah, I've had to sort of, I guess, train myself not to want to, I had to sit in the discomfort a bit longer than what I like because I just want to, let's just clear the air, makeup, that's all good. Let's move on. But I've had to learn to kind of sit a bit more in that discomfort, think about it, go for a walk, go for a run, whatever it is, and then come back a bit submitted. I'm still a work in progress. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's interesting that you're the opposite, right? I think we did I went to a retreat and we looked at our different styles of resolution. I think mine is like conflict. So I'll just have that awkward conversation and let's get it over and done with, whereas other people kind of retreat. So very, very interesting.
Yeah. And I think the gift is we don't need to exile any parts because when I tell my clients that, they're like, really, you're like that? But yes, but I know that part doesn't work. If Tracy and I have a conflict right now and then I ignore her for a month and I stew on it for 30 days, Tracy's not going to know, but I'm going to know. And so that part is effective. And so I had to say, okay, this part of Rebecca exists because I was bullied by women. So I think if I'm going to tell Tracy something about how I'm feeling, she may hurt me, she may reject me, she may not launch our podcast, she may fill in the blank, all the things.
Yeah.
And so, sense that I would feel that way. But if I can note, awareness precedes choice. Now that I have an awareness that that's my pattern, I have an opportunity to choose something different, because
Mm.
avoiding is creating more pain in my reality. So
Yeah.
I get to do the work to be like, okay, the new choice is I get to have the vulnerable conversation. What tools do I need to work with to support me to do that?
Mm. And
Which will
Beck, if
create new
some,
change in my life.
what was that? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Which will then create new change in my life.
Definitely. And if someone listening is feeling stuck in shame about sex, love, or money, what's the first step to breaking free?
I would ask myself, what am I shaming myself about when it comes to sex? What am I
Hmm.
shaming myself about when it comes to money? What am I shaming myself about when it comes to love? How am I showing up to sex, love, and money from a dysregulated state? What does my woman or man really want in the domain of sex, love, and money?
Mm.
What is an action in my life that would have to change right now to start moving the needle towards a better relationship with sex, love, and money? I would journal on all of those questions to begin with.
Yeah,
I think you would
great.
find a lot of information in there.
And Beck, last question to wrap up. If you could go back to your 19-year-old self when you were going through that very traumatic relationship, what would your one piece of advice be and why?
Mm. I would tell her that avoiding emotional pain will only create more pain in her reality.
Mm.
And so to think about the emotions that are attached to this painful experience and go and source help with that part versus the external. And that will
Yeah,
change everything for her.
very, very powerful. Beck, where is the best place for our listeners to go should they wish to connect with you?
You can find me on Instagram, Rebecca.Antonucci. And you can find me on every listening platform, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts at Sex, Love, and Money.
Beck, thank you so much for our chat today. I appreciate all that you've shared. And again, just, you create space for those conversations that I think not enough people have. And in so doing so, you really, give people the same permission to speak about these things. And it's very freeing, I believe, as well. So thank you so much for all you've shared.
Thank you for having me. That was so fun.
Awesome. Thanks, hey.